Welcome to Between Us and the Machine. I'm Juliet, and I help UN agencies, NGOs, and governments implement AI. This week, Marank Sharma, Anthropic's safety lead, resigned and posted a letter about the world in peril. And I kept thinking, this is the tension I see in every room I'm in. Either people are paralyzed by this kind of fear, or they're moving so fast that they're creating kind of harm and not thinking about who gets hurt. Margot and I are setting the stage for this series, who we are, why we're doing this, and what we're actually trying to figure out together. Welcome, Margot.
Yes, and so I'm Margot. I work with private sector leaders on what AI means for the people in the organizations, the human side of AI. And I read that same resignation letter, and what struck me was not only the safety concerns, but it's the integrity that comes at play in this time. We're in the middle of this race, and then, integrity leads to these decisions. I see it in the places where I come, the conversations that I have. We're thinking about what is the impact for the human? What does it mean to be human in the middle of this race for speed? So I guess this is a conversation between two people who look at the same machine, but from very different angles. And probably we're not always going to agree, but having this conversation is what matters.
Yes, exactly. And I think back to the integrity issue, I think it's so important to have integrity, but not to get out of the race, actually to be in it, and that's part of these the series. So I'm seeing this resignation as a symptom. Really, people are losing that internal battle, and the world in peril language kind of freezes institutions. So I'm seeing this at the institutional level. um, or they're taking too many precautions and not really being able to implement anything that has impact or meaning. So anyway, Margot, I'd like to speak a little bit more about you, who you are, and what keeps you in these rooms.
Yes, well, being in the conversation, I think that, as you said, that is so important. I came across AI years ago, and I've been working with people in organizations for a long time. And then I saw this thing coming, thinking, "Oh wow, what is going to happen when it really is going to become a thing in organizations, when it's going to be accessible within the workplace?" And it's fascinating, it's terrifying, it's fast, and I feel the responsibility to have conversations, to steer away from the technological things. You can make cool movies, and you can, can do all this cool stuff with AI. It's like a super gimmick, but that's not what it's about. It's about really having the important conversations, because of the significance on our life, on our work, on the system. So what keeps me is feeling that responsibility and wanting to invite people to be part of the conversation and steer away from fear, because I think fear is paralyzing, and it's a challenging time, but we need to have the right conversations, and that's why I'm so happy that we found each other.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. How did we end up here, and what brought us both to this table? And if I recollect, It started with a quick LinkedIn note, and I took a look at your LinkedIn, and I thought, yeah, it seems like Margot is coming at this in a slightly different way than me, but we have a kind of similar perspective. And then we hopped on a call, and what I shared in that call was what I was seeing in the work and also in technology in general. So, I've been seeing technology grow over the last 20 years. And in the beginning, I had some skin in the game and some say in the game, and I started seeing more and more our rights being taken away. So, for example, using Google and having Google use our data, whether we liked it or not. And then I started seeing um, uh, things being put in place to help us. And I thought, yes, this is also necessary for AI. And I work with Mission AI, so that's my company that I
Mm.
founded. And what we do is we help NGOs and governments really implement AI. But in that implementation, I got to see the possibilities, and probably not all the possibilities, but some of them. And what so some of the possibilities really fascinated me, and really how AI can accelerate our progress
Mhm.
and what we're doing to at least help people. But I also saw the more nefarious kinds of things that it could be used for, and I think we're seeing it right now. And you and I had this conversation, and I think we had more of a meeting of minds while you're coming from the private sector. So I want you to talk a little bit about your Homo economicus to Homo connexus, because I think that to me really like interested and it intrigued me.
Yes. So meeting of minds. I think that's a perfect way of calling it. So I have a vision about the human in this time. And the big question that I've looked at is, what does it mean to be human in a time when AI is getting a bigger and bigger role in our life and in our work? And the answer to that question was, for me, is that it's not our intelligence that makes us so special, but it's our ability and our need to be connected with yourself first, then with another, and then with all there is. So this concept I call Homo connexus. So that was in 2019. And so I started to write about this, to speak about this. And along the way, I was introduced to the concept of Homo florens. So in the Netherlands, a few philosophers were asked to look at humans in 100 years from now. So what is this? How does the world look like? What? How could you describe the humans 100 years from now? And they came up with this vision, which they call Homo florens. Now, Homo florens is super. It's like this amazing, the amazing people in a kind of paradise setting, all beautiful, all happy, loving, caring. And then the reality of today is that we're in this time of Homo economicus, where it's all about me, about what I have, about the money I make, about profits, about linear growth. And I thought, ooh, we have this reality of the economicus which we are experiencing now, and then these philosophers, they come up with this beautiful image of the future human. But I think, how are we going to get there? Because there's no way that one day we're going to say goodbye to the economicus and then be the Homo florens. It's like water and fire. It's not compatible. And then I thought, this is where the Homo economicus comes in, or the Homo connexus comes in. So we need a bridge. We need a bridge to move away from the Homo economicus. And I think we are all feeling this, that the system that we are in, on every level, whether you look at education, at healthcare, all of it, we feel that we're really at the end of it. It doesn't work for us anymore, and that is the time of the Homo economicus. We're really stretching what it can do for us. It doesn't serve us anymore, and then by losing, like letting go of the grip of the Homo economicus, um, through the Homo connexus, by being connected with yourself, with another, and with all there is, we can let go of the grip of the economicus. We can come to terms with what is important for us, really revalue, rethink our whole society, our whole life. And then that is the path towards the Homo florens. So, yes, I do believe in this beautiful future, but we need the bridge, and we're on the cusp of that bridge, letting go of the grip of the economicus. And AI is a huge driver in this, really a huge driver.
Yes, and I love that you're saying all of this, because when I have been looking at AI more and more, I really think that intention is everything.
Hmm.
And in the last year or so, we have been seeing an intention not to give money to public institutions and NGOs. There's actually been divestment, but I see that humans, that us, we want to be connected, we want to help. So whether or not the NGOs survive this or not is one question, but how we use technology for me is extremely important. If we're using it to better our lives, if we're taking in account what the good things are, but also what some of the cautions are, and making sure that we build this in a way that's as ethical as possible so that we can all flourish in the future. And I think we are moving
Hmm.
towards that.
Yeah. So when we talked, meeting minds, and we can talk forever. Like every time we meet, there's another, like we catch on each other's thought. But you came up with the idea of having this series, and so um, tell me a bit more about that idea. Where did that come from? What are you aiming at?
Yeah, what I would thank you very much. What I would like from this is really to open up this conversation, not just between us, but between others as well.
Hmm.
Uh, our vision is really to invite others into this conversation, policymakers, people who are working on legal aspects, people from technology, from private sector. And what I really hope to do is frame the discussion around AI and frame how it's implemented. Right now, also in the news, France has moved towards more French providers, right? So they're not going to use Zoom and Teams,
Hmm.
and so things are moving quickly, and I want to make sure that we are sharing as many ideas as we can, but also inviting others into this conversation, not having people quit Anthropic, but stay in the game with their heart in the game and their intention in the right place.
Yes, and and tell a bit more about the conversation. It's a very common word, but it comes with it. It's not just something you consume and then you move on, right? It's not. That's not what we want to do. It's so. What is a conversation?
So exactly that. I'm an implementer, right? So one of the things I'm doing is implementing AI. I'm developing solutions, and I want that when people are listening to this, they're actually taking it and they're moving towards really deciding on how they're going to build their solutions, how they're going to implement AI, and actually, moreover, create an AI that benefits all. So,
Hmm.
as Europe is talking about um, moving away from American owned AI and building their own, well, when we say building their own, who's building it? Is
Mhm.
it you, is it me, who is it, and who is it for? I really would love to see AI become part of the public infrastructure and owned not only by big tech companies but by all of us.
Yeah, so that's something that we touched upon, and instead of shifting the power to another powerful corporate, you're actually doing the same thing, but then in Europe. Well, at least it's in Europe, but that's not really changing anything. Like it's shifting power, but the invitation that comes with this time is to really rethink what how we want to do things, what the values are that we find important, and then find the right way instead of going with the way that we've always done and just shifting things geographically to Europe.
And I
Yeah.
think what we're missing in the conversation in general around AI is a lot of things are abstract. I see a lot of
Mm.
abstract governance talks. I see a lot of hype, a little bit too much doom, and not enough discourse on how do we actually do this well,
Mhm.
and who should be in the room and who's missing. I
Yeah.
really don't. I
Mhm.
actually don't even see this discussion out there, and so this is not about you or I delivering these answers, right? This is
Exactly.
about two people in different rooms trying to figure out aloud with guests that are coming and making decisions right now. The intimacy between us is, the personal and the relational and the emergent.
Yeah. So for the series, Juliet, we thought about three pillars, three topics, to make sure that these conversations, um, yeah, contribute to the conversation that we feel is important to have. So, can you share a bit more about these three themes?
Yeah, so these three themes, which we're calling blocks, are known as so it's power, right? Who's deciding, who
Hmm.
benefits, who gets left out, some of the governance questions that are related to that, so the equity issues, the environmental costs, responsibility, so the legal, social, ecological accountability, who gets sued when AI goes wrong, how to organize organizations build it responsibly, not just ticking off compliance boxes, and then the human future, which is what kind of society we're actually designing, and the meaning question that you mentioned earlier, the flourishing question, the human connexus horizon.
Yeah. So when we have guests, so this is an introduction to the series, um, and we're setting the stage for these conversations that will follow. Super curious about what way will go, but these three pillars are very important. And so, what kind of people can we expect then? So, who would we want to have as a guest to talk about this?
Yeah, I think we have a good guest list lined up, but we want people who are actually implementing. Uh, Also, people who are thinking. So, people in academia, that's perfectly fine. Uh, we want people who are looking at the power and responsibility angle, so the governance questions, implementation challenges, um, and practitioners.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not. I think it's not the usual suspects. It's really opening up the conversation for everyone who has a voice, who wants to take responsibility, or for people. We're not going to have the answers, right? It's important to ask of questions to make sure that we start thinking about answers instead of just marching forward with this super powerful technology.
Yeah.
Um, now, um, you said a little bit already, but looking at the current landscape. So here we are. Um, Things have been happening. How do you see the landscape of AI at the moment?
Yeah. Well, it's moving quickly, very quickly. actually quicker than we can all keep up. And this is why some of these governance issues are really important. Um, and uh, there have been massive breakthroughs in science because of it, in health because of it,
Mhm.
but on the other hand, in surveillance because of it. Um, and so I think that we need to accelerate these conversations. You almost can't have enough of it. But that's also why we want a lot of implementers involved in this conversation, because as you're designing AI, and I've had this experience not so long ago, I was designing uh, an AI solution for migrants. I had to think about many things that go way beyond GDPR, that go way beyond the EU regulations, and that's where I have like a kind of call to action in the industry is like when you're designing something to really design from pure ethics and not necessarily the legal. Of course, the legal is good, but it was interesting because when I designed the product I made, um, uh, I actually checked the legal afterward, which I should admit to, but this is the truth. And because I knew that my intention was correct, and I just wanted to make sure, okay, did we check all the boxes? And yes, we did, and we went beyond that. And so I think it's really important to understand all the considerations. It does take a long time, and we you almost can't get enough information. And I know, like my production team, for example, they're technical guys. They're not really thinking about all of these things. So I'd like to invite everybody to this table.
Yeah. So I think when I look at the landscape, as a speaker, I've been talking about AI to get people curious, to really share the responsibility, thinking that the people that are building it, they can't carry this super heavy load. So we need to have more and more people informed about what it is, what it can do, instead of dismissing it or thinking that it will go away. So that was what I did for a few years to get people to open up to AI, to be curious, to start experiment, to start just try it out, see what it is, make up your mind. What is happening here. Now I see things that are changing, and whereas like in the corporates that I also talk to, um, they it's AI is now on the agenda and is a huge priority. So it's from we don't know what it is, and it started off with shutting it down for employees because they were worried about the safety. Now it's like the opposite. Like we have to do AI, and we have to, we're already late to the game, so we need to move forward. So that's what the board says. They tell their people go do stuff with AI, and without having a vision. So now AI is in a space where it's become like the objective instead of a way to do things. And so instead of having developing a vision, understanding what it is, also looking at what kind of company do we want to be, what kind of society do we want to be, what is the role, like what is the unique capability of people, and then along the line, we see AI, and then we can figure out what is the role that AI can play? What guardrails do we have to have in place to make sure that it supports us instead of turns against us? And then all the things that are linked to that, like who owns it, yeah, where do we, instead of thinking this is something that AI can do, so let's let it do it, we should think about, is this something that we want AI to do? So it's really super important to talk about, to encourage people for taking responsibility and asking the right questions, to be informed, and even if you don't know the answer, to just allow yourself to ask the questions that matter and start the conversation.
So, I'd like to ask our listeners to engage with us. Tell us what you're seeing in your rooms. Who should we talk to? What kinds of tensions are you holding? We really want this to be a conversation, not just a broadcast.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's there are like the usual suspects, but it's a responsibility that we need to carry with all of us. And um, ask your questions, not fear based, but it's about looking at the potential and being able to redesign our society, to actually design our future by opening up to the possibilities, but also owning the responsibility that comes with it. Um, so I'm super excited about these conversations that are coming.
This
And what is left to say, Juliet?
Well, this isn't a finished product. It's a conversation, and these conversations need more voices. So we're not here to perform expertise by any means, but we're here to figure this out together with you, between us and the machine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.